It's Monday. That means it's Setup Monday here at Brave New Coin. Let's take a look at some charts. Let's break down some BTC and ETH charts as we flip our bias, most of us anyway, from ultra uber mega short to mean reversion is actually happening. And if you can't keep up with that, well, trading just isn't for you. This is an if this then that situation. We stopped making lows. Things looked extremely ugly going into a few days ago. Since then, the sun came up, and here we are. And you play with the hand that you're dealt. We didn't actually break 29K. If we would have, if this gets droopier and droopier on low volume, that is the ultimate bear. The fact that this thing reversed equally on low volume doesn't make me immensely happy. It doesn't really show an on volume breakout, but the price is the price, right? At the end of the day, price is king. Sure, it was low liquidity. Sure, it was probably one or two people pushing this thing up and continue to push this up, taking advantage of maybe some Amazon news, maybe some conference stuff, maybe some short squeeze funding stuff. All that, collectively is part of this probably. But here we are. We made some higher highs. We're arguably out of the descending channel, and on BTC, we're starting to reach for that mean reversion target of 44 to 46. If we look at the daily cloud, there's a big level at 47 even. How this works is if we're above the cloud, we're bullish. If we're below, we're bearish. And in between those bullish and bearish trends, we get mean reversions to the Kijun potentially, or when things go flat for an extremely long period of time, we get mean reversions to the cloud itself. And here you're seeing a bullish TK cross here and today or tomorrow with an edge-to-edge move potentially to 47. Very similar to this edge-to-edge move. Sometimes they happen extremely quickly. Sometimes you don't get the entry you're looking for. So sometimes you have to chase or just stay out. So do we look overextended on low timeframes? Probably. But at the same time, high timeframes look like bias is very clear. What we don't want to see is what happened in October 2019. This was when we had some Xi blockchain news out of China. They said something about blockchain is the future. I don't remember exactly what it was, but massive reversion here, and that got denied on the cloud for 20 days, and then we just dipped lower and lower, made a lower low. Eventually we inverted head and shoulders and went up from there, but you can't buy 29, I don't think. I wasn't sniping the bottom or anything like that, because expecting anything like this, to me, is just hopium. So I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're out of that range. I'm glad that it's happened. If you bought 29, congrats. But for me personally, I've bought 34, so I've been underwater for like a week or two on BTC. I bought 23 on ETH. I've been underwater personally on that. On the Enzyme stuff, I've had to let go of some of this on the way down. ETH at 19, I let go of some BTC at 29 or 30, somewhere down there. Because, if you bought this, you look like a hero, right? But if you are underwater and it keeps going, at what point do you say enough's enough, right? That's why stop losses exist. That's why stop losses are a thing. And this is going to vary from person to person based on leverage, based on risk appetite, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's going to look at this differently. But for now, we can look at the trend metrics. We can look at what's happening going forward. Like I said, 47 is the North Star, is where price looks like it wants to go now that a bottom looks like it's in. We don't want this, right? It doesn't look like we're going to get that today. So hopefully we don't get denied at the cloud. That's something to watch for. On lower time frames, on the 12-hour, finally in the cloud for the first time since breaking down. We had a fake out breakout here into the cloud. Potentially this is what that mean reversion to 48 would have looked like. We forgone all of that. We said, nope. This is when the China FUD, I think, really ramped up and reversed pretty hard. This caught a lot of people, including myself. A lot of people, including myself, have been chopped up quite well over the past 2 months, or at least since May 18th, whatever that was. But things are finally starting to look like we're trending again. On the 12-hour, on the 8-hour, this was the first couple candles since the breakdown with this is the full Monty, okay? We're above the cloud. Lagging span is above the cloud. Cloud is bullish, and the TK cross arguably is bullish here. Some people wait for the TK lines to be above the cloud. I think that's a little much for crypto. Crypto likes to move hard and fast when it picks a direction. So 8 hours says we're good to go. The issue here is that we are so far above these means now on low time frames at 35, right? Ideally, you buy this lower at 35 and then it goes to 48. Because if you're like me and you were looking at this last night thinking, you know, it looks okay, it looks reasonable, I'm going to wait maybe 1 or 2 more candles, and then boom, you know, I turn my head and all of a sudden we're at 38. It's like, Jesus, there goes my entry. You know, now what do? Right? You just kind of miss out. You either chase, which I hate doing, or you just wait, which isn't always the best play if you think this is going to mean revert anyway. If we look at the 20-week SMA, if you're looking at high time frame trend stuff, we're still below the 20-week SMA, which is incredibly important at determining trend, and that's somewhere at like 46, 44, whatever that is. Another mean reversion line to watch. We're still bearish on the 1050 cross, which, like the 20-week, has historically been extremely good at picking trend, telling you when we're bullish, when we're bearish. This will cross bullish today or tomorrow. And the 200-day is right here at 38 and change. Looks like we're breaking up above that. But the 50-200 cross, still bearish. But if this can flip over the next couple weeks, along with everything else, we can say, okay, things are looking better. You know, we're still below the cloud. We're still in the midst of a death cross, right? As bullish as this looks today on high time frame trend stuff, not so much. Still, the alligator fractals, the low time frame MAs, are flipping bullish as well today. So for the first time since the breakdown, again, all this stuff is just saying the same thing over and over and over again. For the first time since the breakdown, on lower time frame trend metrics, we're starting to flip bullish. Where this probably goes is to 47 based on, you know, 44 to 48, we'll say. We'll give it a range based on mean reversion stuff. It probably goes there. ETH, very similar. It's got a target of around 3K on the daily cloud, but it's still below the cloud. It's just getting into the 12-hour again, fake out a few days ago, but it's in the 12-hour again. This is another chart I was looking at last night where we were literally at the cloud to the dollar, and then the next candle we just explode up, right? I really wanted to wait to buy ETH, but I ended up just pulling the trigger today because it looks like it's going to keep going, right? And it's got this W, it's got this inverted head and shoulders. There's plenty of reasons for ETH why this keeps going. BTC, it's a little bit messier, but ETH, I think it's a little cleaner. ETH as well, it's above the 8 hour for the first time since mid-May. Cloud stuff is flipping bullish, not quite bullish, but it'll be bullish on the next candle. So everything looks significantly better than it did. ETH is even already back to its 20-week SMA, another incredibly important metric for trend determination and if we're bullish or bearish, right? This is the simplest binary thing you can look at, is the 20-week SMA along with the 1050 on the daily. The reason I'm looking at the 1050 is because I'm backtesting. It is phenomenal, okay? If you don't believe me, do the backtesting. It's phenomenal if you just trade these crosses. Is it noisy at times? Sure. But as always with trend metrics, the payoff is always going to be greater when it actually works than getting in and out quickly on noise, right? Look how high this got you out. Didn't get you out at 3.8, didn't get you out at 4.5, but it got you out at 3 when this crossed, right? Saved you all this pain to the downside, and now it's crossing again. Just like BTC, ETH on the alligator fractals flipping bullish as well. That's crossing today, so things are definitely changing. And what I was really worried about for ETH is this comparison to BTC in 2018, where we had these MAs just squeezing like a boa constrictor, getting all the bullish life out of things. This looked like a descending triangle. Again, people are like, you're bullish yesterday, you're bearish yesterday, you're bullish today, what's going on? Like, well, you know, again, we're up 20% from the bottom. At what point do you say it's time to flip that bias as trend metrics are flipping, as bearish patterns are breaking down? So this is looking like it's trying to confirm that inverted head and shoulders, the W. It's trying to negate a death cross here. And this was what we were setting up for, was on the 12-hour ETH was a descending triangle. It looked great, right? Where we're basically kind of here, I think. We're either in April or August of the ETH version. And today we're making equal highs and higher highs. So we're canceling that out. Here's a great comparison too. I mean, this to me is uncannily similar as far as MAs are concerned. Just goes tighter and tighter and tighter. And yeah, it's lagging, whatever. I don't care. The point is it was looking bad. And here is the inverted head and shoulders again, pointing to 3K. If you measure that with a diag, but let's say you hate that, just measure it as a W, measures the same thing, 3K. No, kind of a no-brainer. I think everybody's looking at that level, looking for that level based on previous highs. So you don't even need to know about measuring or VPVR or any of that stuff. I think that's where it's headed. Even on the DeFi perp, this chart is noisy, I know, but it's got this W characteristic again. After forming several falling wedges, after death crossing, after dropping below volume support, dropping out of the range, this thing looked incredibly ugly, but finally started to turn around again for the second time, right? Completing that W characteristic. It still needs higher highs. It still needs to get back into this range. But I think seeing this, I'm getting more optimistic that this thing can survive and not dump an additional 50% back to this January lows, at least on aggregate. Some of these DeFi coins already have dumped to their January lows, but then there's stuff like Comp that looks incredibly strong on the USD pair. The 5200 have zeroed out completely. They're touching. So it's not bullish, it's not bearish, it's just flat. To me, this is setting up for whatever the bias on the chart is showing, and that's in inverted head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, shoulder, neckline at 450. Target of 600 to 700. It's pretty clean and simple. It's a diagonal shoulder, so that looks good enough to trade for me. And things like sushi and everything else still looks fine for mean reversion targets to like 14 on sushi. I posted that early July probably when it started to edge break through this midline. That got denied initially, then you get your W, then you recapturing this midline back into the club. So this looks real enough to trade again for me. Sometimes you just got to be patient. Lastly, I'll just mention the ETH-BTC fund and DeFi portfolio. I trade for Techemy Capital on Enzyme.finance, where you can send ETH to USDC or just watch what I'm doing. It's effectively copy trading all on chain done through DEXs. You can see AUM allocations performance. You can see all the trades I'm making. You can see what I'm doing and when. And you can see me in a bunch of yield plays in the DeFi land as everything is green today. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.